Hi there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bosk's Bounty video. So about a year ago I made a whole series of videos based on Hasbro finishing the 96 original Kenner figures in the vintage collection. Now that series spanned about 9 episodes and looked at each figure or character and talked about what Hasbro needed to do to release them in the vintage collection. Since that series, Hasbro have indeed released some of them, so I thought it'd be a good idea to make an update video to see where we are in terms of how many there are still left to do and which figures are likely candidates in 2023. I know many people that watch my videos are original trilogy fans. Some of you may only collect the figures from those films, but even if you collect it all, I think most people wouldn't say no to more figures from the original lineup. So with all that being said, if you do happen to enjoy the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get into this. Alright then, so just like in the original series, I'm going to be using this image here of the original 96 Kenner figures, and we're going to be ticking them off as we go along. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to fit all of these figures and characters into one video because I'm going to go through them all pretty quickly, not delve too much into detail of each figure. We're just going to go through them all and see how many that Hasbro still need to do at the end. So starting from the top, we have the Stormtrooper. So we do now have that one on a Star Wars card. That was a Walmart exclusive this year, so hopefully you all managed to get that one into your collections. Next up, we have the Rebel Soldier from Hoth. We have him already. And then next up, we have Leia, Ben Kenobi, and Han Solo, which are 3 figures that we desperately still need in the vintage collection. Of course, we do have them on the vintage original trilogy card backs, but not in the vintage collection proper, and those are 3 figures that definitely need an update. So we have the Death Squad Commander, we have him. FX7 is another one that they need to do for the Empire Strikes Back on that classic card back, and for me this could be an easy repack from the Power of the Jedi line. The figure does not need updating at all, and in fact I think they use it in a vintage collection 3-pack, so it's already been in the vintage collection, just not on his own card back. And next up we have Hammerhead. He is going to need to be an all new figure because all of the other ones that we currently have can't sort of sit down, and if you're going to have him in your cantina, then you're going to need him to be able to sit down. Walrus Man, we have him. We do have the Sand People or Tusken Raider. He was released on the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm. C-3PO is definitely one that needs updating, and also we need him on a Star Wars card. We have him on an Empire Strikes Back card, but we need him on the Star Wars card. IG-88 is another figure that we have had on a vintage style card back from the Saga collection, vintage Saga collection, but definitely the figure needs updating, and also, you know, we need him in the vintage collection. R5-D4 we have. Ugnaught, we definitely need the Ugnaught in the vintage collection. No idea why that wasn't released around the time that they released the Carbon Freezing Chamber. They have 2 different figures that they could pick from the Legacy collection that could easily go into the vintage collection. Jawa, we have that. We have the Power Droid. We now have Yoda as well. We have X-Wing Luke. We have the Death Star droid as well. He was another 50th anniversary figure. Bosk, just like IG-88, is another one that was released in the Vintage Saga collection that we do need. R2-D2, we have him on his own card back, although he is a dirty version, but, you know, that'll have to do for the time being. Luke Skywalker Farm Boy, much like Leia, Han, and Ben Kenobi, he is one that is desperately needed to be updated and put on a vintage card into the vintage collection. Again, he exists in the vintage trilogy collection, so that's definitely one that we need. Moving on to the AT-AT driver, 100% would love this one in the vintage collection. Of course, I'm going to say that I want all of them in the vintage collection, but he is one of my favorites. I love the troopers, and he is super cool with a great card back as well, so that is one that we need to finish the 96. We have Han Besbin. We now have an updated Lando, which is great. We do not have a removable limb C-3PO on that card back where he's on the back of Chewie in his like net backpack thing, so we definitely need that. Another bounty hunter in Greedo is one that we need in the vintage collection. Again, he is in the vintage Saga collection already, but not in the vintage collection proper. Leia Besbin we have, so that one can be ticked off. Then we have the Rebel Commander from Hoth. We definitely need him in the vintage collection. He hasn't been done yet. And we now have Lobot as well. And that's another one that can be ticked off, I think, since I did the original series. So looks like quite a few of them being ticked off, which is good. Han Solo in Hoth is another one from the Vintage Saga collection that we do not have an updated version in the Vintage collection. Attack Commander, we do kind of have General Veers. Yeah, that one's a bit iffy, but I think we can tick that one off. We do have the card back and a version of the figure, which is fine. Boba Fett, we definitely have, no problem. We have both versions of him, both card backs now, so that's great. Chewbacca, we have him. We now have the Black Bespin Guard, which is great. That was another one of the Walmart exclusives from this year, so we can tick that one off. Next up, we have 2-1B Medical Droid. We definitely need a update on this figure, in my opinion. The one that came in the 3-pack in the Vintage collection, I don't think is good enough. Personal opinion. So we definitely need that. And of course, we need him on his own card back anyway. Now we have Snaggletooth, or Red Snaggletooth. And this one is a maybe for me. I'm putting a question mark on this because, you know, they did release Zutton in the Vintage collection, but it wasn't on the original card back, and it's not really the same character. So, you know, I'm not too sure if we can tick that one off fully. Dengar we've had in the Vintage collection, VC01. He's the one that started it all, so we can definitely tick him off. Imperial Commander. Now, this one is another strange one because the card back for this one is General Veers. But we are getting a new officer sculpt for the Piet figure, so hopefully they'll be able to do this one and tick him off as well. That would be awesome. We do have Luke Bespin, no problem at all. Then we have the Imperial Stormtrooper in his Hoth battle gear, or Snowtrooper. Now, this is another one that I would desperately like in the Vintage collection again. He is another one that's from the Vintage Saga collection, so we do have a card back for him, but not an updated figure and not in the Vintage collection proper. Leia Hoth, we have her, we have Luke Hoth as well, we have the White Bespin Guard, and we do have that version now with the moustache, so that's that one ticked off. And then we have Zuckuss here, or Forlom, depending on your age. This is another one that's been done in the Vintage collection, kind of. We had him in the Bounty Hunter 2-pack on that foil card, but in his Kenner version. So we do kind of need, you know, a screen accurate version of that figure on his proper card back. For the Vintage collection. Darth Vader, we have plenty of versions of him, so he is no problem at all. The Cloud Car Pilot is another one that we can tick off because we've had that one for a while. And then we have Forlom, or Zuckuss, and this one has been done as well, VC number 10. TIE Fighter Pilot, I'm ticking him off, although I'm not overly happy with the figure. We do have the card back, although we do need that card back on the Empire Strikes Back logo, in my opinion. Next up, we have R2-D2 with the periscope. He is another one of the Walmart exclusives that was done this year, so we can tick him off. Admiral Akbar, we have him. We also have the Lando Calrissian in Skiff-Guard disguise. Next up, we have Chief Chirper, which is one of the last remaining Ewoks that we need in the Vintage collection, and possibly the one that I think is the most important that's left still to do. I would love for them to do the Chief Chirper for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi in 2023. That would be awesome. Next up, we have Weequay. We have him. We have Logray. We have Reese. We have the Rebel Commando. We have Nine Num. Next up, we have General Madine, which is probably the most boring figure out of all of them, except for the Imperial Dignitary, but we need him. If you're going to finish the 96, then we need him in the Vintage collection. So General Madine is one that needs to be done. Gamorrean Guard, we have him. The Biker Scout, this is one that will be done next year. He's coming as a pack-in with the Speeder Bike. So he is definitely one that we can tick off for the Finish the 96. Moving on to 8D8, which is definitely one that we need, considering that he is also featured in the Book of Boba Fett. It may have not have been 8D8, the actual character, but it was exactly the same droid. So, you know, they could kill two birds with one stone with that one. Han Solo in his trench coat. We do have him, although the figure isn't great. They are releasing a new Han Solo Endor figure. It is yet to be seen what card back they're going to be using on that one, whether they stick with the original, and whether he even comes with the trench coat at all. It could just be a Han Solo from the Endor bunker. Next up, we have Pruneface or Orimarco, and we definitely have him in the Vintage collection. Awesome figure. We have Leia Endor now on a vintage style card, brought in from the Vintage Saga collection. She was part of the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm. Klaatu and Wicket, we have both of those, so that's good. We can tick both of those off. And we can now tick off Bib Fortuna as well. What a fantastic figure that is. Really, really good figure. So happy with that one. And then we have the Rancor Keeper, which is definitely one that still needs to be done. He is available in the Legacy collection. That's possibly where many of you have got that figure from, but we do need him on a vintage style card to finish off that 96. So he is a cross for the time being. Luke Skywalker Jedi Knight, we have that figure, absolutely amazing. And we also now do have the 80 ST Driver, another one of those figures that was released for the 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm. The Emperor, we now have him on a vintage style card. I'm not too sure if we had him when I was doing this series, but we can definitely tick him off now. And to go with the Emperor, we of course already have the Emperor's Royal Guard. The Klaatu figure there, or Woof, we have him. We also have Leia in her Bouche outfit. We have Nikto, which is being re-released for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, along with Woof. We have the B-Wing pilot, or Kian Farlander as he's called. And we have Tebow now in the vintage collection as well, so we can tick him off. Now we're moving on to Squidhead. Now Squidhead for me is a strong candidate to be released in 2023 in my opinion. He was in the end of The Mandalorian, standing behind Bib Fortuna before Boba Fett killed him. So, you know, again, two birds with one stone. We do really need Squidhead for that throne room that's coming out. EV99 is another one that we need. Once again, you know, there isn't a sort of good enough sculpt out there that we can use for that one, so that one would have to be an all new figure. R2-D2 with the lightsaber, that's kind of been done. The card back hasn't been done, but you know, the one that came with all the drinks and everything, maybe we could say that that one's been ticked off. Han Solo and Carbonite, we do have him. He was included in the Jabba's Palace playset. So we're well and truly in the last 17 here now, and we're on to Warwick. He is definitely one of the Ewoks that we still need in the vintage collection. There's the Imperial Dignitary that I mentioned earlier as being one of the most boring figures going. But again, if we want to finish off the original 96 and also finish off the scene from Return of the Jedi, because we do have the Emperor and the Emperor's Royal Guard and all of the troopers and everything like that. So that would be very nice for them to do as well. Romba is another Ewok that we still need as well. Not as urgently as Chief Chirpit in my opinion, but still Romba is there in the lineup. So yeah, we need him in the vintage collection. Moving on to Barada. So this one, in my opinion, is another one that they could pretty much easily do. We have the Kithaba sculpt, a simple repaint really, some minor sort of updates, and you can really get Barada into the line no problem. General Lando, we have him, so we can tick him off. Then we move on to Anakin Skywalker. This is one that we're going to need. This is kind of like the ghost of Anakin at the end of Return of the Jedi. Again, a bit of a boring figure, but as I said before, you know, everybody that wants to finish the 96, you're going to have to take the rough with the smooth, unfortunately. Luke Skywalker in Stormtrooper disguise, we have him. What a wonderful figure that one is. And then we have the Death Star Gunner, which is another one that they've done most recently in those Walmart exclusives. Luke Skywalker in Endor was another one of the 50th anniversary Lucasfilm figures, so we can now tick him off as well. Moving on to the A-Wing pilot, that is definitely one that we need in the vintage collection. There's quite a few different candidates from previous figures that they could potentially use if they were updated, but in my opinion, they could really do with an all-new figure for that one. Paplu is one that we already have now. He was again released in the 50th anniversary Lucasfilm figures, so we have him. A Manaman is going to be an extremely difficult one for them to tackle, in my opinion. Huge figure, really big bubble. Does it need an updated sculpt from the Power of the Jedi line? Let me know in the comments down below what you think about that one, but in my opinion, that's going to be a really difficult one for them to do. Lumat we already have in the vintage collection. He was released towards the end of the TVC 1.0. And lastly on the list, we have Yakface, and we already have that figure and the exclusive version that came in the barge, and they are re-releasing him for the 40th anniversary of the Return of the Jedi. So there you go then guys, that is a rundown of the original 96 Kenner figures that they still need to do. You can see all of the ticks and crosses on that graphic there. And by my count, there is 32 still left to do, which is about a third, and a couple of maybes like the red snaggletooth and the R2-D2 with the lightsaber, things like that. But for me, those aren't overly urgent because we do have a version of those in the vintage collection already, albeit not on the correct card back. So 32 still left to do. Hopefully they'll be able to do some more in 2023. Specifically, as I said before, Squid Head would be a very good one. Chief Chirper would be another one. The Rancor Keeper. It's the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. They need to be sort of concentrating on those and ticking some of those off, in my opinion. Some of the other Ewoks surely should be easy for them to do. Alright then guys, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully I'll be able to do another one of these videos next year once they have released a bunch more of the Finish the 96 figures. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to my Patreon supporters and channel members for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. Thanks all for watching everybody, and we shall see you on the next one.